Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Roy's Tie-Dye Sci-Fi Corner, episode number 194, Wonderfest 2023. With me tonight are my friends and my special guests. First, from Props and Ships, Space 1999 Props and Ships, Mr. Todd Morton, and also, hi, Todd, Mr. Gordon Moriguchi, also from Space 1999's Props and Ships.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Hey, and then also joining us is another friend who is our very special guest. He's a filmmaker, he's a producer, he's a director, and he's also a screenwriter. And his name is Jeffrey Morris. Jeffrey, welcome.
Hey guys. Hey,
My dude.
All right.
Honored to have you here, Jeffrey, and honored to be here. Thanks, Roy.
Oh, absolutely. It's an honor to have you guys finally on the show. It's been a long time coming, and I'm glad you're making it. And nice Space 1999 helmets too, there, guys.
Oh, they're stuffy.
Got to represent.
I was gonna say they look like they could be a little warm.
Yeah,
Just a little bit.
Yeah,
Just a little bit.
I was joking earlier because on the series, I was saying that those vents that are in behind, supposedly behind those helmets, really don't help to keep you cool, do they?
We're just stickers, yeah.
They're just stickers.
Stickers ain't helping nothing.
The art of movie making, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, we got some folks joining us out there, and I want to welcome them out there. I see Sue is joining us. She's joining us from Massachusetts. Welcome, Sue. Great to see you out there. Bill Attenberg is also out there. Thanks for joining.
Bill.
Hey, Bill.
All right, Bill.
Bill's joining us from Canada, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And Sue is saying, hi, Jeffrey. Excited to see you here tonight. And she's also saying hi, Gordon, and hi, Todd, as well, too.
Hi, Sue.
And we also have, joining us from Australia, we have Jenny Bonnie Millett. So, Jenny, welcome. And Jenny, I guess right now it's probably maybe around sometime in the afternoon or early afternoon. So, I guess I could say today is tomorrow as opposed to tomorrow is yesterday, which is a Star Trek reference. So anyway. And Jeff Rubel is joining us from out west. Jeff, welcome. Great to see you out there. I also see Warren is out there. Welcome, Warren. Good to see you. Warren's joining us from Canada. And I also see Christian is also joining us from Canada. Welcome, Christian.
Christian.
And Martin Bend is also joining us, saying hello, everyone. I'm the movies watching Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. I hope it's a good film. I will catch up on your rerun. But thanks for popping on to say hi. Much appreciated, Martin. And
Everything frozen? No audio?
Huh. Nope. Can everybody else hear us? I just want to make sure, doing a sound check, making sure everybody's good. And let me see here. Jerry Seward is joining us.
Everything's moving.
Hey, Jerry.
Cool. And Jenny said it's morning there.
Good morning.
Yeah, so everybody can hear us?
Yep, everybody. Yep, Warren's saying good there. So,
Bill, are you in a blizzard or what?
yeah, what's going on, Bill? Anyway, guys, welcome. Wonderfest is coming up. It is actually less than 7 days away. It's actually coming up next Saturday, and that's pretty exciting. And I know you guys have been, when I say this, Todd and Gordon, you've been a part of Wonderfest for many years now. So tell us about your involvement before, and then we're going to start to get into what's coming up for the weekend.
2015 was the big year. We led that up to 20. We started planning stuff in like 2014, maybe a little earlier. But it was all, trying to get the Eagle build, the 22-inch Eagle build, done by round 2, which we finally accomplished with a lot of people's help. So 2015, me and Gordon met, and it's just gone crazy since then. We've got the big suite now, and 2015 did we get a suite in 2015, Gordon?
Oh no,
yeah,
no, this was when we just started.
Yeah,
so 2015. Yeah, 2015 was our introduction to this whole thing. I really didn't know what to expect. We just kind of took a chance to go.
Yeah,
we were honored to meet Jamie Hood of round 2. We met Jim Small, who was small artworks, I guess, for his company. We met Jamie Anderson of Anderson Entertainment, Jerry Anderson's son, for the first time. And we also met Eric Chu, who worked with Anderson Entertainment to do the posters, the digital posters for Jamie and his page. Also, Lee Malone was there from Rogue Studios, who I've been working with to get my first 44-inch Eagle. It's not there now. I'm breaking it down to get it ready for the show. But ultimately, it was a really good first show. We didn't do any kind of exhibit or anything like that. That really didn't come around until about 2017 timeframe.
Right.
2015 was a good introduction. Then 2016, Nick Tate was there. To our surprise, I think Cult TV man Steve Iverson was introduced or sponsoring him then. But it was a really good opportunity for Todd to meet him for the first time. My second time, I met him before back in Alpha 2014 over in Peterborough, UK, and it was kind of interesting. He knew me right off the bat. I was like, Gordon. It was awesome to see him again. So, but yeah, 2017 is when we started our suite miniature, I guess, exhibit within our room, and then it just got bigger and bigger after that. 2019 was huge. And then, of course, last year was kind of our biggest, smallest one because we ended up getting a smaller suite. But we crammed a lot of people, a lot of stuff in there to include my 88. And then this year, the light bulb kind of went off. It's like, why don't we see, Todd? You have a contact with the convention folks over there. Let's see what we can do about what would it take to get an exhibit out there on the floor. Because I see these other exhibits going on. It's like, well, we get about 50, 60 people coming through the suite at night on Saturday, and it's just, one period of time and everything. Why can't we do the whole weekend? We get thousands of foot traffic coming across there. So we initially were going to be in the contest room, and then ultimately we got promoted, I guess, if you want to call it that, into the dealer's room B. I guess that's where most of the exhibit stuff is.
Yeah, it's where
gotcha. So it's going to be huge. Nick is going to literally be right next to us, saying hello to the fans, probably doing autographs. We got some photographs ready for him. But anyway, it's just been leading up to just a bigger and bigger exposition of 99. Round 2 has been so helpful. I know I boast about this over and over again. They're up to 27 Space 1999 products since 2014. It's just unbelievable. How many kits did we have back in the day?
Right, and that's what's pretty amazing, because now I remember, and there was an exhibit going on. It was in New Jersey, and I think, if I remember correctly, I think it was at the Hilton, and they had at the Hilton, and this is in New Jersey, everyone. I believe it was during the summertime, and they had the what do they call it? Like a prototype of the 22-inch Eagle that was actually going to be there, or one of the prototypes. And I remember being, messaging Todd. Todd was telling me about it, and he said, if you can make it to that, event, try to make it. And literally, it was like an hour down the road for me, so it was not that far. Yeah. And I tried to get there, and I did get there, and I believe that they were actually doing like maybe an auction for it, or there was some kind of special giveaway. And this was like kind of the start of everything. Do you remember that, Todd?
Yeah.
Yeah. And was it around 2015 that was taking place? It would have to be somewhere around there.
Yeah, it was probably, sometime earlier before the Wonderfest thing.
Yeah. Well, actually,
it was the Jersey Fest 2015 Best Vehicle First Place exhibit.
Yeah. Okay. So that was literally 8 years ago, which is pretty exciting considering where everything is actually morphed since then. Gordon, I was actually at that same convention in 2014, and that's how I got to meet you. And that was in Peterborough, which was an exciting event. That was the event that Andy put on. And it was exciting because Nick was there, and that's how you initially got to meet him and everything. And it was a wonderful time in regards to that. So fast forward, it's now 2023. As you indicated, now there's been 27 products that have been put out in regards to kits. Back in the day, after Space 1999 went off the air, you know, I remember that article in Starlog number 6. I always like to give Starlog magazine the shout out on the show because that was the go-to source of entertainment and news and information.
It really was.
For Trek in Space 1999. And that issue that came out, it had that photo caption of Koenig and the Servant of the Guardian, Martin Landau and Catherine Schell. And they made the announcement that Space 1999 had been canceled. And yes, and I remember specifically reading that one line that said, "Get your model Eagle kits while you can." And sure enough, I mean, what happened was everything just kind of disappeared and it evaporated. It wasn't until 1999, literally, that we, or maybe a year earlier, where
it was 88 or 98, I think.
98, yeah.
98, yeah. They did that special release. And we actually got to see the Eagle revisited, and that was exciting. They also did the Moonbase Alpha, yeah.
So, new box arts and all that stuff, but the
same
kits. But yeah, that's when I jumped on some more at that point.
Exactly. So
yeah, getting the Eagle kits were just, you know, if you find them third party, the Warp, the AB. The Replicas Unlimited, you know, there's a number of different third-party kits that came out throughout the 90s, the 2000s, all the way up into 2014, and then, you know, Jamie and team put out repops of the original 4 kits. Well, the original 3 kits. The Hawk wasn't able to be found. But the 4th kit was a special edition Eagle. I think they used a lab pod with a spine booster that Jim Small originally produced.
That was a cool kit.
That's
really what. So when they did the repops, that's what they based their sales on, and it was enough to make the next one, which was the one Gordon's talking about. That kicked off everything and told round 2 that they would be successful in the 22-inch Eagle.
Yep.
And from there on, it went.
Yeah. So 2015 was the prototype introduction. We all got to see it. I think you got some photographs of us doing some presentations with it.
And actually, I'm gonna bring those up in just one moment. Before I do, I just want to give a few shout outs to some other folks that have joined us. Micah is out there. Micah, welcome to the show. Great to see you out there. I also see Nick McCarty's out there saying hello to everybody.
Nick is all over the place.
Bill Attenberg gave us the thumbs up. He's got everything working. My wife Shari is joining us. She's saying hi, everyone. Great to see you all on the same show.
Hey, Sherry.
Hey, Sherry.
Warren saying hi to Sherry. Claudia is actually out there. Hi, Claudia. Welcome. Always good to see you too. Don Bethman is joining us from Delaware. Donnie, welcome. Great to see you out there too. Randy Lee is also joining us. Randy, welcome. And it looks like John Haig. The Haig is in the house. Welcome, John. Good to see you out there too.
John, you need to read my my response to your collection on props and ships.
And
I'm still in awe.
Yeah, you're still recovering from that, Todd?
Yeah, not back yet.
Just to let everybody know, John Haig's I'll say his basement, which is almost like the pit cave. I mean, he's got everything going back from like 50 years from our childhood and then some. It's truly amazing.
Yeah, science fiction literally threw up in that room.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go there and visit just to, get my childhood experience back.
All right. Here's some photos that we got. And Todd, you look like you're in your glory there.
Oh my God. I don't know. Look, when I was holding that test shot, Jamie told me, he said, look, it's not glued together. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Well, I was scared, excited, all that in one, just trying to smile and hold on to the thing and hope it didn't fall out of my hands. It was an experience.
That was a glorious day.
You didn't almost slip, did you, Todd?
I wanted to slip out the door, but with both those eagles that you're showing, that big one and that little one.
And then there's Gordon with his glory there too.
Oh yeah. My Gordon first 44.
I was the test subject for it, make sure it didn't fall.
the when you see Todd holding the 44-inch, it looks like Lee Malone in the background's calling the police because Todd's wanting to make off with it.
Security, can somebody get this man before he takes off of my Eagle?
That's right.
That was a big joke back then. That's for sure.
No, but it was good times. But we
got to meet Jim Small.
Yeah,
and that was my first year meeting Don too, and Jamie and everybody in those pictures.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, Round 2 has done an amazing job in regards to, I'll say, just producing everything that they have, and also definitely want to give a mention to 1612 as well too, because I mean, the merchandise that they've been putting out. I mean, they started out, if I'm correct on this, it was originally Product Enterprise.
Correct.
And then what happened was it morphed into 1612. And when they gave their announcement of the different items that they were going to be releasing, it was really cool. Warren actually commented too, and he said 1612 has been a big supporter of all things Eagle as well, going back even further, 2003-ish. Awesome releases, designed primarily for the non-builder as well. Yeah, and when it comes to non-builder, I mean, I wish I could build like you guys do, and it's amazing because there's so much talent.
Whoa, Roy.
We ain't got no builder down there.
We don't build, we buy. Okay. we promote the kits so other people can build them for us.
Okay. I stand corrected.
Not just for us, but it's nice to see that people are getting back into it. It's nice to see the new generation of kids coming up and seeing kind of a resurgence of a lot of these models. I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Walmart gets thousands of these pallets in the middle of their aisles during Christmas season, and you see these kits getting into these people's hands, and it's nice to see those kind of being reintroduced, like what we grew up with, in our childhood, and they get to use their hands, use critical thinking skills, and everything else like that. So. I love the idea of all of these people enjoying them, and then Round 2 taking it to the next level and basically making them extremely accurate. So yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, back in the day, I mean, I couldn't build to save my life. I mean, it was me with the model glue, and then I would be trying to build. And then what would happen is I wouldn't get it properly, and then the glue would like start to eat away at the plastic. It just never was pretty.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it was the Enterprise. Remember the original Star Trek AMT Enterprise? Oh my God, I built 4 or 5 of those, and you set it up on that flimsy little stand it was on, and then you just watched the nacelles
just go boom. Yeah,
I've
been there. I was there. Yeah.
How do I fix that?
I remember going to because my grandparents lived in Astoria, Queens. I remember going with my grandfather, and we had like a routine that we would do every Sunday. We would go bowling, and then we would stop at church because my grandfather was very religious, and then sometimes we would stop at Genevieve's, which was like a local lot, 5 and dime, and they actually had a model kit section in there, and that is actually where I got my first USS Enterprise. I was so excited. It was by AMT. I remember getting it back to my grandparents, opening the box, looking at the model, and saying, "This doesn't look like what was on the television." But anyway. But Jeffrey, jumping in with all of this, in regards to everything, now I have to ask you, now the folks out there, Jeffrey has been on the show before. He's very talented in regards to his movie making abilities, and he's actually working on a project which we have announced on the show, which is in the works, and it's in regards to, it's called The Eagle Has Landed, and it's going to be a documentary about the Space 1999 iconic ship, the Eagle. But before we talk about that, Jeffrey, I just want to ask you, as a child growing up, and I'm sure, but I don't think I've really discussed this with you before, but did you have your share of AMT kits and models and things that you would?
It's funny. My first, the first model kit like that I ever built was with my father, and it was a shuttlecraft Galileo.
Okay,
we built that. And that was pretty good. That was like one that was kind of stable and everything. Yeah. And then after that, I tried to build the Enterprise, and it had the exact effect you guys were talking about, with the nacelles were just like, it was just like literally you hear like this Warner Brothers cartoon.
More glue, that'll save it.
Oh my gosh, no! I mean, it's like it's funny. I don't know if that's what put me off model building or whatever, but I'm very much like you guys. I'm like I just want to buy it. It's I'm not the builder type. Everything. I really admire the patience that people have to really build these super detailed complex models, miniatures.
Amazing works of art.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. Absolutely. So, but I too am like really thankful at the Product Enterprise 1612, all these kits that have been built and these pre-built models and that sort of thing. It's just been fantastic. So I've really enjoyed being able to partake of that over the years here. So, and especially growing up as a,
there it is.
Yeah. Especially growing up as a kid, wanting quality interpretations of what we saw on screen.
Right.
Yeah, that was a big part for me. It's like it felt like finally in the early 2000s I could get my hands on what I was actually watching and fantasizing, about playing with or having, in my hands. That was really cool. So yeah. So, but I've been a collector of models and memorabilia since I was a kid. I still have a few things that go back to those days and everything too. So which is fun.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah. And that makes it an exciting time. I mean, things have really just progressed over the last few years, and especially for Space 1999. In a lot of ways, 1999 kind of got, I don't want to say gypped, but I'll say got shortchanged in those earlier years.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact now that we're here, it's 2023. We're coming rapidly, coming up on the 50th anniversary of the series, and there's just so much attention being given to the series, and so much more attention that's going to be coming up. And you're a big part of that too, in regards to wanting to put together this this documentary, which is very exciting, and focusing on the Eagle. And
here's the thing: the impetus for me was the fact that I would sit here thinking about, like, why do I have my own personal obsession with these things, right? I was like, it's like, what's this about? It's like, and I really was trying to get to the root of, because I know it's not just me, right? And like all of us like enjoy Star Trek and the Star Trek miniatures and those visuals and things like that. But there's something about the Eagle that I feel like it has a much more rabid and engaged fan base. When you think about it, there's literally a fan base for a fictional spaceship, right? And it's like, people love the Millennium Falcon, people love the Enterprise, people, we can give a whole list of these things, but the Eagle's at a different level. And that made me really think about it. And I was like, why is this? And the only answer that I could come up with, especially like looking at myself and my close friends who all admire the Eagle, was its connection to elements of real space exploration. That was the part for me. It's like, I know for me as a child, when I saw the Eagle on screen and I saw the like the little reaction control thrusters and the engine bells and those, I looked at that stuff and I was like, man, that looks like it's like NASA tech, but it's just projected in the future by 30 years. And then you add that to the idea of like, okay, wait a minute, the Enterprise is like, that's 300 years from now. I won't be around for that, but 30 years from now, I could be around for this, So for me, the idea of seeing, a character like Alan Carter flying the Eagle, I put it together and said, well, that could be me flying an Eagle, and and someday that could be real. And I think that sort of dream of the future and that connection to the future is a big part of why so many of us resonate with the Eagle. I think that's a big part of it, and that's something that we really want to explore in this documentary. It's really get into to why do people love this, and what's its connection to real space exploration, and the fact that we went to the moon in the 60s and early 70s, and then we didn't go, for 50 years, right? And in some ways, I think Space 1999 and Moonbase Alpha and the Eagle sort of exemplified the dream that was lost in a way, also. And now we're going back to the moon. So you've got these wonderful bookends between Apollo and Artemis, and put Space 1999 and the Eagle right in the middle. So, well,
I think it's all about timing, and it's part in the expression or part in the term, but we have almost come the full circle, so to speak, with everything, especially within the space program and the direction we're going. I had to say it.
Yeah, good one.
It was only appropriate. Jeffrey, I'm putting up on the screen. I thought it was a perfect lead into where we are in the discussion, just to share your presentation that you've put together in regards to this documentary that you're working on, and is in the process of being formulated. So I just wanted to share with our viewers, that way they could take a look at it, and then also have you maybe just talk about a few components of it.
Sure. So this is a pitch deck we're using. So this project is it's out to streamers. That we're looking at attaching like a major executive producing team with this project as well, to really get at the broadest possible audience. But at the end of the day, we feel this is going to end up being someplace like Netflix. That's the target. Maybe some limited theatrical also. But the bottom line is, you create decks like this. This is how I was able to sort of attach talent, attach others. It's like this kind of gives you a sense of what the project is. So we're developing this. My partners in this project is a company called 0.0. They're out of New York, and 0.0 they did the TV series Parts Unknown that featured Anthony Bourdain, the late chef, where he traveled around the world, which is an amazing series. They also they have a show with David Letterman that's on Netflix. My Next Guest Needs No Introduction. They produced that show, and they've been nominated for over 96 Emmys, and they've won dozens. And they're an amazing company. So when I pitched this to them, it really resonated, because they were actually it turns out that, like, one of the lead producers there, she was like, "Hey, my brother's had an eagle." She was talking about that. And one of the other producers there, he actually had run into a Space 1999 fan just recently, and they were just at the gym talking about it. So for them, they were like, wait a minute, there's something going on here culturally. There are a lot of people who are actually interested in this show from 50 years ago and this idea. So they got very interested. So this is a deck that we put together in order to kind of showcase how this whole thing would work. So, a big part of this, so this is kind of how you pitch this thing. So we give a quick blurb on the concept here. I know for me, it goes back to, I would not have been as excited about Space 1999 if I had not seen the Apollo missions on TV. It's exactly what you're pointing at there. And that Saturn V right there on that TV, that, other than the Eagle being an icon of my childhood, the Saturn V was just as much of an icon. So it was a huge deal. So, yeah. And then we're also going, bookending it, as I said earlier, by we're going to be spending a lot of time at NASA and actually meeting with astronauts there. We're going to Houston. We're planning to see simulators and get a real sense of how the whole Artemis program is going to work and everything. That'll be part of the documentary as well. We're also going to be talking to a couple of the astronauts who actually walked on the moon. So it's really cool. So we're going to talk to people who've been to the moon, talk to people who are going to the moon. So that's another part of it.
It's exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, because it's capturing not only the past, but it's also really looking at the future, and it's also it's a huge component of everything that has taken place. But it's also integral, the way Space 1999 plays into it, or more importantly, the Eagle, and how it is such an iconic ship, and how it has resonated for close to 50 years, which is pretty impressive.
Well, the creator of the Eagle, who is a hero of mine, Brian Johnson, the visual effects artist, I've actually had a couple of meetings with him over the years, and actually I just met with him in England back in February, and he's willing to come on. He's actually come on board as one of the people who's integral to the project, which is very cool. So he's going to do a lot of kind of talking through the history of, like, the how and the why, and all the aspects of what made the Eagle. First off, from a design standpoint, but I also really want to get into how the miniatures were created and photographed. And to me, a lot of the visual effects from 50 years ago, they still hold up. It's just like 2001: Space Odyssey, which is a film he worked on as well. These Space 1999, 2001, it's like these are films that were or projects that were created before the advent of motion control and computer generated visuals and all these sorts of things. Decades earlier, these guys were using the sleight of hand and using their minds to create these images that are iconic. And without Brian, obviously he designed the Eagle itself, but beyond that, bringing it to life in such a believable and realistic way was super important. So that's why we're going to make sure we talk to Brian and learn all about that. So, yeah.
No, it's pretty amazing.
Another thing, just real quick, when you look at this slide right here, I always felt like the Eagle looked like the sort of the grandchild of the LEM, the lunar module. If you look at it, the elements there, if you scroll up just a tiny bit for me, if you see the the landing struts, right? And they always reminded me of the superstructure on the Eagle, and the idea that like you'd have these exposed girders and beams and things. I think that's so cool. That's part of what, and then the modularity of the LEM, the fact that you had these multiple spacecraft that are kind of put together, right? You have the descent module and the ascent module, and how it's really kind of two spaceships in a way, so then they want the Eagle and the fact that it comes apart and have all these different modules, right? It feels like it's from the same lineage.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that's an excellent point. And if you think about it too, the fact that, in 1969, this was actually able to take place. I mean, it's just incredible when you really stop to think about it, because really, I mean, it was only in the 20th century that we were actually flying in airplanes. I mean,
Oh yeah. No, we're talking 60 years later, right?
Yeah.
From first airplane to landing on the moon. That's incredible. And I mean, what an incredible leap. It's really something. Yeah, totally, Dennis. You're right. Yeah. And the other thing that was something about Space 1999 that was really cool too is you can see, between Jerry Anderson's UFO and Space 1999, obviously UFO was made kind of pre-landing on the moon, right? So it's, if you think about the aesthetic of the way the lunar surface was depicted and that sort of thing, it feels more like a Chesley Bonestell painting or something like that, right? Whereas Space 1999, the way the moon was depicted looks much more like the photographs. You don't see these big chunky mountains and things like, you're seeing these rolling, right, plains of dust and things like that, right? It felt much more like what we actually saw when they went to the moon. That was really cool, the way that they incorporated that in the project. So
absolutely.
The fact that even Brian Johnson and his crew used model kits from the Saturn V, everything, all that to come up with that. It just, that's the NASA feeling right there.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, now here's a photo. That one there is with the amazing 70s couch.
Yeah. I got a few of those too.
And we also have to shout out to the the wood paneling in the house too. So that's me kind of circa the time that I was watching Space 1999 right there. So they really thought it was important that that's part of the story here, right? Is that I'm gonna, since I'm hosting this as well as directing it, I'm also trying to really get in and tap the feeling that we all had, right? And talk a lot about what was it like being a small child watching this show and seeing it and seeing that, those elements and everything. So yeah.
Look forward to seeing your success. Keep us updated.
Absolutely. So
yeah, no,
it's exciting stuff.
Yeah. So one last slide you might want to get to is just to kind of get a sense of some of the people we might be talking to that we're out to for the project. I think that's important. So
I'm going to scroll down just so everybody gets a chance to look, and let me get to that. It's a wonderful presentation, but here we go.
Yeah. So these are some of the kind of people that I'm going to be talking to for the project, which is great. Obviously, I think people who are enthusiasts know about Tom Hanks and his love of space, and going back to what he did with Apollo 13, and his love of 2001: A Space Odyssey and things like that. So I'm really hoping we'll be able to engage with him to talk about his view of it. He had to have at least seen Space 1999, you figure, right? That sort of thing, which is kind of cool. No, yes, absolutely. The moon bus, clearly. Yeah. So, so anyway, these are some of the people we're looking to talk to on the project, which is kind of
awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
One of those guys on there, I would have never thought would have been a Space 99 fan. Brian May.
Brian May. Yeah.
I love that. I love Queen. The music and everything. And back then, I would have never thought that he's watching Space 1999.
Yeah. I mean, and like a huge fan of it, right? You know who else was a big Space 1999 fan that a lot of people don't know about was Michael Jackson.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Michael Jackson. When I did my first run at trying to in the late 90s at trying to get the rights to actually reboot the show, because I'd actually my first time around, I guess I've actually, now that I think about it, I've kind of gone at it 3 times. The first time was in like 96, 97, because I was hoping to get something done early enough that you could literally make a show called Space 1999 in 1999. That was the idea.
Oh, yeah.
So when I was pitching that and trying to find out, I was out in Hollywood, and I found out that I was like, the music's so awesome. I was like, well, how would we get the music? And we started checking into the rights. The person who had the rights to the music at the time was Michael Jackson. And so it was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah, this was a story that I heard from some of the licenseers out there. I'm sure it reverted or whatever, but he was like this huge Space 1999 guy. So it was kind of interesting. So I think there are more people around the world. That's part of what's so cool about this story. The one thing when you see the celebrity side of that, that's one side of this, but I truly want to get into talking with the fans. So what we're doing next week is, or this coming weekend, is I'm bringing a crew to Wonderfest. And the idea is we're going to have a great 2-camera shoot, total motion picture quality, the whole deal. I'm going to be interviewing Gordon and Todd. I want to see your visuals. I want to see what you guys have got set up there. Todd, I'm planning to come to, I want to see, props and ships. I want to go see round 2 with, there's all this stuff I want to do with this thing, but it starts in Louisville. I guess, the wonderful thing for me was, I was just in Calgary, at the 1999 event there. And it was just shout out to Warren on that. It was really, really well produced, and the audience was very engaged, and it was a treat. I really had a good time there. And Roy, you were there, obviously. So I mean, it was a good time, and I got some really good footage and tons of great photographs, and that'll get incorporated into this piece as well. So that's it. But Wonderfest is really where I'm bringing the crew, and we're really going to be making this, starting to really shoot the documentary. So.
Exciting. Well, Jeffrey, I hope we don't let you down.
Nah, you guys, all I ask is just be yourselves, and literally it's just going to be this kind of thing where it's like, we're hanging out. I'm just planning to just talk to you guys like you're just talking to me, like we normally do this thing. And then we just happen to have 2 cameras there capturing it. That's the thing, right? So,
well, I certainly hope that you managed to capture a lot of the fans who really dedicate their time to their hobby, because that's what this show is really all about, is basically the hobby itself, right? So yeah, there's a lot of science fiction and horror themed things that are going on over there at Wonderfest, but there's a lot of 99 fans over there, and they're going to be gawking, probably drooling a little bit, but
so the dream for me with this is I want to show people how. So just so you know, like, this project's not fully financed yet, right? So I'm financing this initial phase because I just believe in the project so much. So the thing that's going to be great about it is I'm hoping you guys will help me to show the world how enthusiastic we all are for this thing. That, let's face it, there are people in sort of mainstream society that they probably haven't even heard about this, right? I'm hoping that this becomes a thing where they're like, wait, what? What is this? And so we have people who are like, if we see this, we're like, this is great, man. I'm finally talking about this. And then I'm hoping that people from other walks of life who've never even thought of this go, wait, what was that? I've never even heard of that. Now think about what that could do for Space 1999 in general, in terms of bringing it back into the popular consciousness and everything, for the merchandise, the whole deal, right? And to talk about the fact that this has endured for decades, right? And this is our chance. So I'm super excited about it and everything. So it's like, let's just have fun.
No,
that's our number one goal.
Yeah.
With everything that's been occurring.
Wait, one thing I don't want to forget is, and we'll just do this as a little business roundtable for a second. Make sure you guys, if there are people you want to point in the direction that you want to see interviewed, or stories that you think are important, please collect a little bit of that, just some notes on that. So before we get together, I can get there and we can shoot some of that and talk to those people. That's important. I want to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got a number of folks in mind already for you.
Okay, that's perfect. So
yeah, what I was going to say is it's just wonderful because everything is being immortalized, so to speak, because this is a time where 1999 is really taking center stage, literally. And for a show that was only 2 seasons to have impacted so many people and so many folks on such a grand level is just very, very exciting. So this is going to be an awesome time and an awesome event. Also, So we're very grateful that you're going to be able to be doing this, Jeffrey. And it's the future is fantastic, as the tagline goes for Space 1999.
Still is, right? It still is.
Bigger, better, more exciting than ever.
Exactly.
It's definitely.
I'm not bringing Fred Freiberger in to help me produce it.
Don't bring anybody that's even related to him.
No.
Oh, geez. But I also want to. I'm going to share the screen right. I'm going to share the screen right now too, and this is a lead in too, because we don't want to forget this gentleman, and that is Mr. Nick Tate. And I'm trying to bring him up here. Yes. So you've been talking with Nick, and you've had the opportunity to discuss with him. I mean, essentially we had you. It started. I mean, I know Warren was talking to him with you and myself, and then what happened was there was further discussions, and then he appeared on Todd and Gordon's show, and then also Nick was just in Calgary, and now he's coming to Wonderfest. So there's a lot of focus in regards to this, and he's totally on board with the project. So can you just give us a little insight in regards to your discussions with Nick and everything in regards?
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, obviously, Nick, I just admire Nick as an actor in general. I think he's just a great, fantastic actor. And, it's not just Space 1999. It's like his turn in other projects as well, including, Star Trek a couple of times, right? I remember never forget seeing him pop up in The Next Generation. And in that episode was Final Mission. It was like, oh my God, that's Nick Tate, which was really cool. But no, I mean, as I've stated many times, Alan Carter was more of a hero to me than Captain Kirk, because he was flying my baby, man. It's like, that's my boy. It's like, that's me. That's the guy I want to, you know what I mean? And so it's a huge honor that you guys put me together with him, and it's been a huge honor to know and connect with him. And obviously we want to capture one thing I want to see is I want to speak with him at Wonderfest, but I also want to see the fan interaction with him at Wonderfest. I think that's super important. I want people to see how excited they are how excited people are to meet him and engage with him. I think that's going to be fun. I want to hear his take on the whole thing. I want to hear his take on fandom and how 1999 has endured for so long. But then I'm planning to do a specific shoot with him in Los Angeles. And there's where I want to sit down and really talk with him about flying the Eagle and pretending to fly the Eagle, being Alan Carter, portraying an astronaut in the future, all those sorts of things. That's going to be with those. So I'm not going to really focus on that at Wonderfest, but that'll be a separate part of the shoot where we'll really get into that with him and everything. So I've got a lot of plans to really integrate Nick quite heavily into the documentary. So again, can't thank you guys enough, and it's been fantastic. So huge honor. Yeah, really excited to have you.
Bring lots of film.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah. Yes.
He loves I swear, Hazel, his wife, tells everybody his favorite thing is to talk about himself.
Sure.
No.
Well, Nick broke a few records on this show. I think the longest I'm on, I think he was on this show for one time. It was for 4 hours and 45 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
And it was hysterical too, because what happened was my friend and co-host Ross Amico, he was, in the comments section, and he was going to be going out to dinner. So he left to go to dinner, did his thing. And then I think he went to the store. He came back and just, went on the internet, and he was like, wait a minute, Nick's still talking to Roy?
We've got some long discussions on Todd's Corner too.
Yeah. That's awesome.
You're like, I'm looking for the day when he's going to do his memoirs. And I said, Nick, because he's been on a couple of times, I said, it's all recorded and we got it. And he said, yeah. He said, part of the problem is he starts, wanting to do his memoirs, and then he always gets sidetracked. So we're really trying to push him to do that. So I think, and his memory, I mean, the level of detail of his story. Yeah. Is amazing, but
I would think it would be relatively easy for him to do, since all he has to do is recite it in whatever, Dragon or whatever application, and it would dictate everything for him.
Yeah, exactly. Christian is saying my first podcast ever and the longest.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
No, he is, and he's great with the fans too. I mean, he loves to share his time, and if he has the time to share, he'll do it. I mean, he comes to these events, and it's and it's just very special, and you get to mingle with him, you get to speak with him, you get to hang out with him, and he's always been like that. And the fact is that he remembers people, and a lot of events over the years have morphed because shows are very big, and for these type of events like Wonderfest, and of course I'm going to mention in Calgary in Canada. Also, when we did our event, we did it in 2019, we did it in 2017. Gordon and Todd and we put those two together. I mean, those type of events. And then also all the folks that have done Space 1999 events going all the way back to 1978. I mean, the very first one that took place in Columbus, Ohio. Those were always special, where the actors were mingling with the fans. They were giving their attention to the fans. You could hang out with them and just be a part of their lives for that, those 2 or 3 days. And it's so cool that this has resonated, and we're coming again up on 50 years later. It's just it's a great time. And with that too, and I'm gonna share the slide too. So he's actually going to be at the event. He'll be signing autographs and doing that as well. So I have that and some photos that you guys have, and that'll be taking place. And also, is Nick going to be doing any type of special? Is there anything scheduled as far as talking? Oh
yeah. Well, Jeffrey and Nick both will have a room. It's the upstairs theater B is what it is at 2:00. So we'll let Jeffrey do his presentation.
Okay.
And then we'll have a little bit of question and answer with both of them, and let Nick do his thing.
That's going to be on Sunday, right, Todd?
Sunday at 2 p.m. Yeah.
Sunday at 2 p.m. Okay.
Hey, what time is the whole event start? Like, what time is it open?
Saturday morning, you can get an early bird.
Yeah, I think the regular time is 9:00.
9:00. Okay.
Actually, I think Saturday starts at 10, but the early bird is from 8 to 10.
8 to 10. Okay.
Oh, so it's 10:00. I thought it was 9. Okay, my bad.
I believe that's what it is.
Okay, and I believe there's a schedule online too. And
oh yeah, Wonderfest.com.
Yeah, Sundays they start at 10:00.
Okay. Well, one thing I was thinking is it might be nice to get some footage, get in early before people get there with you guys.
Yeah.
And shoot some stuff with you guys, just so we can really get some interview stuff going. I think that's the way to do that early in the morning.
We can get in at 7 a.m.
Okay.
And we can be wherever. Probably go over by the display. And
that's what I'm saying. Go over by the display. But I'll scout it. We're coming. The crew's coming on Saturday. We're going to scout with you guys so we can get a sense of everything.
We might be able to get in a little earlier without any problems. I'll talk to George and Dave, and maybe we can get in there before anybody even gets there. And you can take a quick camera around and everything, and
yeah, no, that'll work out really, really well, and you guys will work out the details, which will be really cool. I just want to go back to one of the comments, and this is from Sue, Jeffrey, and I saw this earlier. She said, "Roy, please tell Jeffrey that it is very exciting that the documentary is combining and interweaving conversations with astronauts who have walked on the moon with the Artemis program astronauts, as well as the Space 1999 Eagle. That is amazingly cool." So I just wanted to make sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, really tried to I'm trying to create something here that can resonate with fans and non-fans, right? And also tell a bigger story about motivating us to get out there. It's like I think that's something about space exploration that is part of what if you look at the history of humanity and you look at the times that we seem to be at our best is when we get pushed, when we're pushed over the horizon. We try something new. We engage. We have to develop something. We have to develop new technologies, new ideas, new thought. Right? I think that Space 1999 came along right smack in the middle of that, in a way, right? And unfortunately, because we'd stopped going to the moon, I think there was almost like a hollow feeling that came with that, and everything. So we're going to explore that in the documentary as well. So it's sort of like, if you think about it. we lost the hope, and everything started turning sort of more sci-fi. It started becoming more apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic, right? It's like everything started turning into Terminator, and right? It's this very dark future. Whereas the future that I saw in Space 1999, I mean, like obviously the nuclear waste thing is dark. Having to ship that all up to the moon and everything, but I mean, it still felt like a beautiful beautiful future in a way, right? Like we were, and you look at the moon base, and you look at the one of the things I talk to people about that it kind of it drives me a little crazy, like this idea that like diversity is something that's a brand new idea. Because if you go back and you look at Space 1999, right, that show was indicating that we were going to figure it out. We were all getting along. We were doing it, right? And that was 30 years into the future. I think that deserves to be talked about too. And that's 50 years ago,
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Because I mean, Star Trek obviously did that in the 1960s, but Space 1999 as well. I mean, it was laid out from the very beginning that it was an international station, international moon base on the moon, and well represented. And that's something that it really should be stressed, because it was present, and it was something that was very strong at that particular time.
Well, just think about having Dr. Russell and how many they had all these female characters that actually were part of the action. They were part of, they weren't just subordinate characters. They were actually engaged in what was happening. That was something. That was a big deal.
And you know what? You don't see they were never really featured, but they were there and present. There were female security officers that were in the background too. And that's a representation. Barbara Bain has even said, in the past too, in interviews, where she's influenced many, many careers, people wanting to become doctors or researchers by, Dr. Russell's presence on that series.
Absolutely.
One thing I want to tie into is Claudia Combs commented a little while ago. She said, Jeffrey, in 2001 at the Tampa convention, when Nick and Barry Moss, we took them to a trip to the Cape, meaning Cape Canaveral.
Yeah, Cape
I
Canaveral.
remember when we arrived, all the astronauts wanted to meet him. Maybe he would like to go back with you. And that's
we'll see. We'll see. We'll have to check. Yeah, that sounds fun. Yeah.
Kano kind of inspired me to go into IT.
Oh,
computer guy.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. It's funny too, because something I've struggled with sometimes with there are all these assumptions, right? That you, in order to have a role model, they've got to look just like you, right? And everything. And I completely disagree with that. I think that a role model is a role model, right? And I love that story, Gordon, that you're saying that. I think that's so cool because I actually had people say things to me like, well, how could you have, how could Frank and Dave in 2001 be like role models to you? You were a little black kid. I'm like, well, I didn't think of them as white guys. I thought of them as just astronauts, right? Just like you thought of Kano as a cool computer guy, right? Yep. And that's what I feel like is missing now. And I'd love to talk about how this was happening before, and it was happening in a much less beat you over the head way. And I think it was very successful, And
well, as Kano said, when will they ever learn?
Right.
Yeah.
I liked Kano also. I thought Kano was a really cool character.
Yeah, I mean, making Maya the new science, she was kind of computer too. Mm-hmm. I really did miss Kano in the second season.
Oh, absolutely. Well, who I really missed was Professor Bergman, because to me, he was the heart of the show. He had the ability to say, John, I just don't know. Right? But he would just not know. You know what I mean? That was really cool. That was really, really neat. And the idea that he was trying to explore and understand things. And another thing that I think is missing from nowadays that it had back then was not only did I feel like I could have role models among those people, but there was no ageism. The ageism wasn't there. Think about that primary cast. And right. And I mean, this idea now that you have people, they would depict that cast. If you remade that show now, they would probably be in their late 20s, early 30s.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know what? And I'm going to jump in real quick on that comment. Yeah, this is branching off of that. That was something that supposedly that Fred Freiberger was fighting for. He thought that the characters were, supposedly too old. And that was part of the reason why he wanted to get rid of Bergman. And it's like, I mean, as a 9-year-old watching the show in 1976, when those characters weren't there, my first reaction was, where are they? What happened to
me
them?
too.
And
I look, man, I struggle with season 2 to this day. Seriously, I've been, I'm not going to try to insult anyone who likes season 2.
Really
but I guess the point for me is that season 1 is the show for me because of the characters and the depth and the heart and the darkness and all those elements that I think made it such a deep experience.
That was our original impression,
right? And I love the fact that my favorite character in the show, like I said, Alan was the guy who I saw as kind of a role model, but my favorite character was Professor Bergman. And he's an old dude. Who cares? I thought it was awesome. I thought it was fantastic.
Sherry's favorite character is Professor Bergman. She thought, and she's, it's so true. Barry just brought such humanity to the role, Barry Morse, and he was just like so natural. And like you were saying, he would say, John, I just don't know. It very much looks like radiation, whatever. But it was just that it just kind of like rolled off, and it was the human element, and he was. It was such a loss when he left the show, and again, in regards to season 2. There are season 2 episodes I love to this day, and it's like, they were fantastic, but it's just that it's a shame that part of it had to be lost, but we could do a whole nother show on that.
Yeah, we could do a completely separate show on that. But it's funny. Someone said something like this show got interesting, but I really feel that these kinds of conversations are important, and I love the fact that we can do this and talk about these sorts of things. I think it's great, and I don't want to shy away from that in this documentary. I don't want to shy away from that at all. So it's, I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Jenny just commented, yep. Season 1 was the definitive season for so many reasons. Professor Bergman was very much part of the show's soul.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
His dialogue in some of those episodes was just, you felt exactly what he was talking about.
Yeah. War Games was a classic.
War Games. Gosh, yeah. And the, what's the one where the two moons come together?
Oh, Another Time, Another Place.
Another Time. That dialogue in that episode stole it from me.
I also love
one for me is Black Sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when he's like 50-year-old brandy, when he brings up whatever he says,
saving this.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I've been saving
everything that was.
I mean, think about that too. Like the emotion and the heart of that, because in a lot of ways, I mean, the premise was all over the place, right? But it didn't matter because it was just so well acted and so well put together. It was just, and I think to this day, that's probably still for me is probably darn near my favorite episode, in a lot of ways. Yes, it's true, Christian. Yes.
Yeah. I love it when they see the eagle on this, because he said, Koenig says to Bergman, what about your so much for your fancy theories of cosmic intelligence? And then he's just like, yeah, I know it was a long shot. And then Koenig looks up and he goes, was it? And then he just takes the folder and he throws it up. And then he says, come on. I mean, it was just like such a human reaction because, heck with everything. We're going to go find,
Or even the final moment where he ashed, with his.
Oh yeah, pulled out the cigar.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's great stuff, man. Yeah.
Another piece of dialogue that I always loved too was from The Last Enemy, right at the end, and he says, what a waste, a total waste. But this is somehow maybe they'll learn how to live together, and it's so true. I mean, the fighting that was going on, and people had to die over it, and Dione didn't have to die, but it was she wouldn't go in any other direction, and he was just like so frustrated by that.
That's what they've done so many years. And it was just like, we have to do this.
Yeah.
Even at the end of Full Circle was great.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I'll let you know in 50,000 years, Gordon.
Yeah. Yep.
That's funny.
But great stuff, guys. Cool. Great discussion. And very much appreciate you coming on to discuss everything in regards to Wonderfest. It's very much appreciated. And Jeffrey, appreciate you, everything that you're doing in regards to Space 1999 and, bringing it, back into more of the spotlight of individuals and, not only folks that have seen the show, but also, as you were saying earlier, I mean, this is going to be an awareness about folks that are not aware of it, and just giving it that much more scrutiny. So I think that's really, really special.
Absolutely. Before we go, I just want to make sure if anybody else has some questions or comments, I'd love to hear them too. Anything, is there anything that anyone would like to see in a documentary about the Eagle that, I love hearing sort of feedback in terms of like, could you consider this or that? So, and if you don't have that thought right now, feel free to, Roy, they could send it to you or something, right? And they could.
Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely just, message, send a message to the show's page, and then all this information will be relayed to Jeffrey. And also, Shari just commented too. She said, I had never seen Space 1999 before I met Roy. Love Professor Bergman. Ask Roy what happened to him in the second season.
Sure. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Hey, there's something really important I want to say, which is I could not have this documentary off the ground if it weren't for you guys. I think a lot of people don't know this, but you guys we've been talking about this since I had the idea in the beginning. And when I was first thinking about this idea, I was like, I hadn't even gone that far, but I was like, do you guys think this is viable? And we started that roundtable and started that discussion with that group, and Warren and others. And it's just been phenomenal engaging with you guys about this. You guys have all been thoughtful, intelligent, professional, and really, really forthright. And it's just been fantastic. And I want to shout out to you guys and say thank you for supporting me and helping me get this thing moving. It means a lot. So,
absolutely. Yeah. No, we appreciate you bringing us on board with this, Jeffrey.
Yeah, the honor's all on this side of the table here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
On this side of the table.
That's a very Office Space moment.
I will say something about Wonderfest though. If you encounter Jeffrey and his crew while they're filming, please don't interrupt them. Please.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of stuff to do. You'll get a chance to talk to him, but just be patient, wait your time. Just don't dive in and say, hey, you don't need any of that.
Yeah, that wouldn't be helpful.
So that would be Todd.
But I think you guys know that I'm.
Yeah, that's my job.
Yeah. You guys know I'm very open to it, but let's do it the right way. You're exactly right, Todd. Thank you.
But come one, come all. This is going to be a really great show. As Todd said before, it's going to be one for the books. So we are excited. We're going to probably try to take a little bit of thunder from the Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary, and we're just there to have a great time. You're going to see some amazing stuff.
Cool.
And I think David Jacobs is probably going to take home the medal.
Oh, I bet he does.
With his amazing X-wing. He's got a whole X-wing diorama, and it's just going to be amazing. So, not 99 centric, but man, what he does with some stuff is amazing.
Real quickly though, how the heck is Return of the Jedi 40 years old? I mean, I remember seeing that on May 25th of 1983 when that came out.
Well, 2 years, how is Space 1999 going to be 50?
Well, I'm still not recovering from that either, but it's just insane.
Yeah.
I just want to do just a couple quick comments. Sue just said, Roy, could I ask Jeffrey a question? I totally agree with Jeffrey's statement about the Eagle being quite realistic, so I would be interested if you could comment about the realism used with regards to spaceships and how they were maneuvered in space or on Babylon 5.
Well, I mean, in the documentary or in this session right now?
I think if you have like a 30-second answer for
I mean, I guess I guess the thing is this, right? You look at the Millennium Falcon, it couldn't fly in real life, right? It's certainly not in an atmosphere. There's no way, right? You look at a lot of the ships in Star Wars, they fly like airplanes. They bank, right? A lot of people don't realize that banking is part of the wind, the effect of the plane, the wings basically in their interaction with the air, right? That's part of what banking is and that sort of thing. Whereas when you're dealing with the spacecraft, they move more at right angles, and you have thrusters that compensate. You have if you fire your thruster here and it starts to turn, you have to fire another thruster to stop it or change it. And I think that's I think that's part of what's really, really neat about the ships in Babylon 5. I think they pulled off something similar with some of the visual effects in the early seasons of Battlestar Galactica, the reboot. They did some of those more realistic physics with the way the ships moved. I would love to see, one of the things that I'm thinking about doing for this documentary is some new visual effects of the Eagle, where we actually get to see those thrusters firing and everything, and actually see the Eagle move more like a real spaceship would. I think that's something that computer graphics can afford us now, that couldn't have been done with the miniatures, and especially with the complexity of the miniatures, they couldn't have had them do that back then, right? Now we may be able to do more of that sort of thing. And so that's something I do want to explore here is what would it look like if we did visual effects of the Eagle now with today's technology? And I think we can get the physics even more correct in that. So that's going to be part of this documentary as well. So
yeah, a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you. And again, folks, if you have any questions, please relay them. And we're going to go to the second part of the show, because we're going to be welcoming Shawn Tabor, who's actually out there, and be having him come on. So for now, I just want to say, thank you very much, Todd, Gordon, and Jeffrey. It's been a pleasure seeing you guys. Glad to have you on. And you, of course, are welcome back anytime as well.
Thank you.
Thank you much. I appreciate it. Have a great one.
All right. Take care, guys.
We're out of here.
Let's see.
Somehow I got to get out of here. Oh, exit full screen.
Take care, Todd. Thanks
All right,
again.
see you, buddy.
And everyone, thank you. I hope you enjoyed the first part of our segment of the show. Next, I want to welcome another friend of mine that I've actually known probably, I think it's going on about 6 years, maybe 7. Shawn, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Time seems to be going by. And as I was indicating earlier with COVID and everything. Anyway, he is a military technical advisor. He's a writer, a prop maker, and he is also my friend, Mr. Shawn Tabor. Shawn.
Hey, Roy. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. How are you doing?
Other than being 61, I think we're hanging in there.
Well, that's good. I'm 56 going on 57 next month, so I'm right behind you.
Right. Well, don't worry. Alex accuses me of being like 12 sometimes, so we'll work on that.
It's all good. Young at heart.
Oh, absolutely.
So appreciate you coming on. And folks, I just want to say that, we've been talking about Wonderfest, and Wonderfest is the subject of the discussion. And Shawn has been a member, has joined Wonderfest, been a part of Wonderfest since 1996, going back a little ways. So I'm very excited to hear about your take about Wonderfest and just how you got involved with it. And we'll start with that.
All right. Well, I'd sent you an extra photo, which you may or may not have seen earlier. Just something that Alex thought represented it. And I think you can sum Wonderfest up in 3 words, and that's, and for me, it's definitely 2: family and fun, to be sure. This is a family-friendly convention. Now, when the convention first started out in the early 90s, the garage kit builders were breaking away from the International Modelers Plastic Society, and they wanted to show off, say, some more risque models, because the early garage kits tended to be centered towards women. As time went on, the Wonderfest folks said, we need to make this more family oriented, which they did as things changed with time. In the first convention I attended in 96, Ray Harryhausen was the main guest. So that was still a time when there were topics today that would be considered probably not appropriate for kids, although there were lots of kids there. Now you're going to see more concentration on, let's say, popular themes, but they're not the risque kits that were there once upon a time. And I would say probably the largest section is the Starship section. Just about any type of starship you want to see.
That's pretty amazing. And let me ask you, Shawn, can you see the photos that I have up on the screen?
Yeah, that's Bill Stout looking at some of Alex's work. And then the other photo was from last year, Alex's more modern work. Alex is actually a child of the convention. When he was born, he went to the first one. and this will be his 19th consecutive convention.
Wow. So he literally grew up with Wonderfest.
Literally grew up with Wonderfest and these people. And when I left out the third, it would be family, fun, and friends, because over the years, it's a second family, and then again, new friends are made almost every year. The convention keeps growing. The attendees come up, and while the core of the convention is the models, it is surrounded around the premise of the film. Now, originally, the group that founded it would be called the Monster Kids. And I believe I sent you a photo at one time of Bob and Kathy Burns. You don't need to put that up at this point, but that would be kind of who the crowd was aimed at initially. These folks grew up with the Universal monsters, but now, Star Trek's in there, Star Wars, Space 1999. Nick Tate was there once before. I believe he's going to be back this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, in fact, we were just talking about that. He was actually there, and I can't believe it was 2016 already when he was last there, and he is going to be back. And that's part of the focus of the discussion that we were having with Jeffrey Morris and Todd and Gordon, that he will be there this year and will be part of the discussion in regards to the documentary, and that they're going to have a film crew there as well for that. So yes, absolutely. And before you go on, Shawn, just want to say Sue is saying hello. She's saying, how's Alex? Sorry about your accident and glad you're okay.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Alex is doing well. I believe currently the young man is napping. He's been up working on his entry this year for Wonderfest, and he only has till Thursday to finish it.
Wow. So that's creeping up, and he's devoted, which is very, very cool. And
Warren, you took time off from work.
Oh, wow. Okay. And Warren is saying hi also, saying howdy, Shawn.
Hey, Warren.
So yeah, so no, that's when you think about it, 1996, which to me seems like it was only a few years ago, literally 27 years ago. So this has really went from a small type of event, but has always been a family event, and has just grown and morphed and has embraced a lot of science fiction genres in the process.
Yes. Well, Bill Stout that you see in the photo is a very good friend of ours. Now, Bill, his work is legion, but a lot of people remember, I'm going to pan down from the Wizards movie. And then, of course, for Alex, and people might find this strange, but Alex's favorite movie is Return of the Living Dead. And Bill is responsible for creating the Tar Man. He's a production designer. And he even created the Predator for the original Predator franchise.
Wow.
So, we just started chatting, and it became like, hey, I like your work. Then there I was for a few years later. Now Alex is on scene, and he just was immediately taken with Alex. In fact, I can neither confirm nor deny that on various conventions that Alex would be asleep underneath the table. So, I mean, that's the kind of friendship that you can establish at Wonderfest. And it's not being overbearing. It's just getting to know the person. You get an actual opportunity to talk to somebody and learn about them. But I also caution the attendee, don't overdo things either. Don't, get in everybody's face and eat up somebody's time, because they are there to make money.
Sure. Yeah. It's being considerate, and, knowing the line. It's great to have the interactions, great to have the discussions, but you don't want to monopolize, and you want to make sure that everybody else gets to meet everybody else, so to speak.
Absolutely. And, Alex was brought up in a, I'm going to call it a professional manner, in such that he always said, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Good manners get you will take you a long ways. And that's something that a lot of people have seemingly forgotten.
Yeah, no, Alex has always been very, very respectful. And it's crazy, though. I mean, he's just gotten so big now. I mean, the last time, like I said, the last time we saw each other was probably I think you were saying it was 2018. So it's literally been 5 years. And
absolutely,
the time has just gone by.
Well, I see you brought up Julie Adams, and that was the beauty of the earlier conventions. We were seeing stars from the golden age, if you will. Julie Adams, you had Anne Francis, you had Kevin McCarthy, folks, and Alex, by default, again, he saw all these movies because that's what I was watching.
Right.
War of the Worlds, Creature from the Black Lagoon. Now, honestly, he has made a transition. He was tolerating black and white, but he's definitely in the color realm now. He's not so hep on it, although I still live with glorious black and white. Nothing wrong with that.
No, there's not. It's funny too when you're talking about that, because I remember back in the day, I mean, I think my parents got their first color television. It was an RCA. It was Chromacolor.
Yes.
It was a Zenith TV.
Yep.
It was 25-inch, and it was such a big deal. And it was the one television in the house, and it was, I think, in 1973. So I think it was literally 50 years ago. But that was such a, an amazing time to be able to see things in color as opposed to black and white. And
well, we got ours in 67, and I still remember the hum of it coming on, the smell of everything heating up, and then all of a sudden, hey, look, there's this really funny guy in a blue shirt and pointed ears.
It's funny too, because I remember you had to stay away from you couldn't get too close to the TV. There was a concern about radiation.
Yes.
I remember that was something that was really drummed into my head, and something I haven't even thought about since those times. But yeah, like you said, the way it was powering up and everything.
Yeah, modern technology, you had to love it. In fact, my grandparents finally got rid of the TV about 20 years ago, much to my chagrin, because I just wanted to keep it, store it, just because of the memories it had. I mean, many a night, late night, we're set there in front of the TV recording Star Trek. So I would have tapes, because before we had VHS, the ideal was to put it on a cassette tape. And then, how many times did I play those things back so that, I can utter quotes from my favorite episodes, or at least have the ability, I can be in another room and hear, 3 beats of music and say, oh, okay, the Ultimate Computer's on, or Doomsday Machine is on.
Isn't that really scary how we can do that?
It is. I'm thinking of, like, if I'd applied it to something else, could I have been, a physics major? I don't know.
It's so funny, because how we have technology, so with like Facebook and everything. There was a guy. This was probably in Shari. My wife Shari's out there; she's watching. There was a guy that was on one of the sites, and I if he's out there, forgive me because I'm forgetting his name. But it's been so many years. It's probably been close to 10 years. But he did something called Name the Episode, and what he would do is he would put a screenshot up from a classic Star Trek episode, and pretty much I would say, and I know there's a million other people out there that could do the same thing, but I would, as a part of the group, I would be nailing these episodes. So one time what he did was he threw up a star field just to be smart and said, what was the name of the episode? And, it just to try to stump me on it. But it was a lot of fun. And hearing you just, saying that about, hearing like the first 3, chords of music, and just knowing, you hear that special chord from like the Doomsday Machine when it would open up. It was slightly different than other episodes. I would be like, oh, it's the Doomsday Machine. This is great. So it's cool how, fans of our caliber, love, that, have watched these episodes. And again, there's a million of us out there. But, when we get together and we start talking about it, it's just so much fun to know that there's other people that did that or do that and still watch these.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's like Wonderfest. Again, in the early days, you might see fans, and again, this is this has been going on for since the 70s. But as far as what these fans were doing, but at Wonderfest, 1997, before they took the pool or moved the pool in the hotel that we're currently in, which is called the Crown Plaza. It was originally Executive Inn West. Fans would gather down near the pool. They'd be building models, but other people would have piles of film clips still looking at them. And even though these film clips were starting to go red at that time period and going, oh, hey, this is from Is There in Truth No Beauty, and they were still looking at them and exchanging them. I'll trade you this trouble with Tribbles for that thing from the Corbomite maneuver, So
that's really cool.
We get things like that. And that, again, there's a part of the contest is called for the modelers, or it's called the Iron Modeler Contest. And what that happens is you form a team and you go in, and then they'll throw a bunch of parts, and then they'll come up with, like, create a Buck Rogers type spaceship. And then you have to build this thing. You have like 6 or 7 hours to do a complete kit. So you have teams furiously fighting for parts to get it together. And I'm talking about designing, building it, painting it, everything. So, and then they have this like iron fist with it almost looks like a Klingon gauntlet. at the end, which is the award. And that is something that Wonderfest does too, is it gives out awards to the modelers for the various categories. In fact, this is the last year that Alex will be in the teen section. And after that, he's in with everybody else fighting for a bit of attention. But one thing that was once said to me about Wonderfest is if you get a certificate of merit, now they have gold, silver, bronze, and the certificate of merit. That's, in the opinion of many, that's getting a higher award than at some of these other professional model contests. I know I've seen quite a few judges go through there, but I've seen John Eves judge a couple of times. He's a great one for that. But it's a very tight contest. It's not like everybody gets an award. There are some people, you do your best and you may have still done a great job. You don't always get an award. You have to take, solace in the fact that, like, hey, I got an opportunity to show off my model to a lot of people.
Yeah. No, and it's highly respected. It's a lot of fun. It gives the opportunity to have, as I like to say, the camaraderie of everybody being together, sharing in the passion of doing the hobbies that they love. And I was saying earlier in the broadcast, model building, I so much wanted to be a model builder, to be able to, not professionally, but to be able just to do it and to make these ships and to make them look accurately. And I was remembering when I got my first Star Trek AMT kit, and it was probably like around 1972, 73. I was with my grandpa, and he had, we had just came back, and this is in Astoria, Queens, and got the box out. I was so excited, and then attempted to build it. And it's just that it didn't look like anything like the Enterprise on television with the color and everything. And then I was trying to put it together, and it, the nacelles weren't holding in place, and then trying to get the decals on because I'd never done that before. And it was just horrible. But then, fast forward, and then you see years later with so many people, discussing it and seeing these kits that they've put together and how professional they look and how accurate it truly was amazing.
Well, like AMT kit was the best we had, right? Now I grew up starting on cars because my grandfather was a mechanic, and then I switched over to Army men and tanks when my interest went more towards military. But I got the AMT kit too, and I got mine in '69, and it was one of the first kits that they'd come out with that were still on the shelf, and it had these god awful clips to hold. Now Alex corrected me last night. I say warp engines, he says nacelles. So there are two modelers butting heads, but they would sag no matter what you did. And so when you see the AMT kit used in the Doomsday Machine as the Constellation, it wasn't a hard thing to make it look like a wreck, because even the professionals, couldn't get the warp engines to stay up straight. And this kit has gone through numerous incarnations. Like in the Klingon ships, you can sometimes find them. They use whatever plastic was available. There'll be psychedelic color in the early Klingon ships, so which was kind of common for the time period, right? 60s, 70s. Bottom line is, it's 50 years since the original AMT kit was released, or they're calling it the 50th anniversary anyway. So, wow. But you have to think that it came out earlier than that if it was used in the Doomsday Machine. So, right. But the bottom line is, there's never been a period where there hasn't been an Enterprise kit out there in some form or fashion for sale.
Dennis Chevalier, Dennis, I didn't get to say hi to you earlier. Dennis is joining us from Canada, and thanks for being out there, Dennis. And he commented, and I'm trying to get it to come up here. Oh, there it is. He said they fixed that drooping issue with the newer releases.
Yeah. So
that's kind of cool. I gave up a long time ago on that. So if anything, I've got the it's in the background if you could see it, but it's the one that they actually did, the Hallmark one that they came out with, and that is a pre-built. Warren commented a little while ago. He said, I recall Kodak slides of episodes being very popular back in the 80s. Yes. Now, those slides, Shawn, I actually had been given those slides from a friend's friend. And actually it was ironically enough, it was Ross's cousin's cousin. So my friend Joe, his cousin Bob, he got those from Lincoln Enterprises. Is that where the
Yeah,
one?
what the deal on that was is Lincoln Enterprises, and I can tell this story, take it for what it's worth. When I was out pitching to Deep Space Nine, before I went in to talk to anybody, I took the studio tour for a couple of days. On one day, the guard that was given, or he had been a former guard, it was an older gentleman, and he'd said he was a guard, and his job was to protect the vaults. And he said Roddenberry and Majel would drive up in the evenings, open those vaults, and take all of the leftover clips from the dailies and stuff that weren't being used and put them in the back of his pickup truck. And that's kind of how Lincoln Enterprises got started. And he said, for whatever reason, the studio was willing to look the other way. So when they started Lincoln Enterprises, I'm sure at first it was one of them, and then later on some helpers that would cut these things into links and then send them out. In fact, I think it was, I don't know when the book was written, but let's say within the past decade, somebody came out with a book where they had gotten these clips and tried to restore them and put them, show, because they were scenes that were filmed, but we didn't see in the final episode.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Okay. I just mentioned to you not too long ago about getting the script Elan of Troyes. Well, there are scenes, that script runs over 90 pages. And of course, a script is 62 pages at max. Well, there's scenes in there where Spock is trying to calm Elan by playing the Vulcan harp while Uhura listens in. Well, those were actually filmed, but they were not in the final episode. Now, I've heard somebody say they have one clip from that. So that's where those clips came from. Now, this Kodak film that you're talking about, unfortunately, it's supposed to last forever, but it did not. Most of them have gone to red. So when you get on eBay, as an example, you will find hundreds of these clips out there for reasonable prices, but there's no way to save them. The only thing you could do is, if you got one of these clips, is an earlier one, is to put it in your a cool place. Like I keep my special ones in my refrigerator at all times. To keep them from fading, but they're going to go away. Even though this was Kodak had invented this film and touted it as it will never fade.
Is there a way to take a picture? Is there any way to get an image?
You scan them in.
Yeah.
And then with modern technology, you can bring back all the original vibrance and stuff, but you have to have something to work with. If it's too faded too much to red, it's no good. So you had to start the scanning process like 10 years ago, or find some like mine in the refrigerator that have not been exposed. Then secondly, people did, when fans couldn't get the original Lincoln Enterprise clips, and they were only what I would do is I'd pay $1.35 and get the grab bag, which would be 30 clips of whatever, that they would just throw in. You get those, and then some of your buddies would say, can I make a duplicate of that? They would actually take it over to the camera shop, and the camera shop would take one of the stills and turn it in. And so you can, even in the 80s, that's what you were getting, as kind of a second generation, because the early fans were pretty miserly, and initially they traded stuff, but then they started holding on to it. They didn't want to give it out.
Sure.
So in the shows that I have kept, I have a lot from the Doomsday Machine, that being my favorite episode.
Yeah.
So
I think I actually have, if I remember one, I think I have a shot of the Enterprise in orbit around a planet. And I think the one shot I have is from The Enemy Within, where Kirk in the wraparound tunic in that episode is just sitting in the briefing lounge. I think those are the two that I remember having, and I don't even know where they're at, because it was probably like over 35 years ago that Bob had given it to me.
Well, the Enterprise is in my mind, is the holy grail, especially if you find like the shot of it on its filming stand and stuff like that, because you could. I spent hours projecting these clips onto the wall and getting paper and tracing them, and then that also helped with my artwork later on. But it was like I could spot details on the ship. Like, a lot of people don't know that on the bottom of the sensor on the saucer is an actual phaser turret.
I remember you mentioning that to me, and I did not know that before you had told me that. I had no idea of that whatsoever. That's actually pretty cool. Real quick, want to welcome Linda. Linda's joining us from Canada, Western Canada. Welcome, Linda. Thanks for being out there. And Warren wanted to ask you a question. He said, Shawn, can you confirm that the very first AMT Enterprise had some sort of basic lighting included? I've never seen one, but I've heard this first issue is worth a small fortune.
Yes, they did. The original kits had lighting, and in fact, when you get this, any of the later issues, up until at least the mid '70s, there were still things left over. That like the sensor domes are clear, and you'll see on the top of where the bridge is, there's a little hole. Well, that was for a little bulb, and that ran down through there. And yes, are they a fortune? Yes, but I would say if you're going to spend that much money, you don't want to do it on a sealed kit, because there's no way to guarantee that's what you've actually got in the kit. If it's open, use your common sense. If parts are missing or things like that, not so much. But I've seen those things go anywhere from $600 to $3,000.
Wow, that's crazy. Now, was the bridge dome green on those? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, and then later on they were clear.
Okay, but the earlier ones, they were green, right?
They were green, yes.
I think that, and like I was saying, it was 72 or 73 that I had a kit, but I don't think the one that I had lights in it, if I remember correctly. So it probably, like I said, it was in Genovese, it was in, Astoria, Queens, which was like a 5 and dime, and I think it was like maybe the kit itself was like maybe, I don't know, $3 at the
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you would have gotten more than likely you got the second issue. You could tell. Now, what a lot of people don't know is, we get in this issue of canon on the things. About that time, they started releasing the kits with the names of all the other Constitution class ships, and they did it in conjunction with Franz Joseph, because Roddenberry said Franz Joseph is canon. Now, did it work out that way? Not so much in the modern time, but they definitely had the list of starships, which I consider a more not the numbering but the naming more accurate in the Franz Joseph stuff. So you find these ships on the in the decal sheet, and those have been recreated in the newer Polar Light / Round 2 / AMT kits.
Gotcha. Yeah, Dennis said I had a green lens kit, no lights, unfortunately. Yeah. And Claudia said, yes, they did. I tried to eat them.
yeah, probably not a good thing. that doesn't work out well. And the thing about Wonderfest model contests is you'll see people will get kits like that, and they'll refurbish them, and they'll be on display in the contest where they've tried to upgrade them to a certain extent. More times than not, you'll see an original kit made into that constellation from the Doomsday Machine. I think that's like a rite of passage.
That's pretty cool. When you're speaking of kits, I thought I'd take the opportunity to put a photo of Alex up, and you said the one shot is from last year when he was submitting his model, and then the other one is in regards to the kit that he had. And I did not realize this, and you pointed this out to me today when we were talking earlier. This was part of Scotty's toolkit, which I did not realize. So I have to go back and check that out. So I appreciate you, bringing that to my attention, because I did not catch that.
Right. Wonderfest. Now I've been fortunate to go from being convention attendee to actually being a guest of the convention. First time I was a guest was when the crew, there was a contingent of us from the former fan film, New Voyages Phase 2, and we went down there for Mind Sifter. And since that time, there's been several instances where I've participated in the convention, giving a display and or a presentation. And this time, I'm going to give a presentation on Scotty's toolkit. It is a cheap, affordable cosplay and or static item that you can make without breaking the bank. Okay, we all love phasers, tricorders, and so forth, but I look at some of these phasers that that I want to buy on eBay, and $2,000, $800. Yeah, no, not so much anymore. And this is something that you can get the basic kit for about $10, and then with the proper painting techniques, you're ready to go. Now, the first time that this kit showed up was actually in the Corbomite maneuver. Bailey is using it on the bridge, and so if you take a look at that, you'll see it. Also, after that, we see it in Devil in the Dark. And there are two versions. There's a yellow blue version, and then there's a green and red version. Now, I'm not going to give out a lot of details on how to make this because I'm going to give the presentation at Wonderfest, and there are people who have bought their tickets. And so, but at some other time, once it's out, the cat's out of the bag, so to speak, I'm happy to tell people how to make it. But anyway, this, it was also in, of course, the Doomsday Machine, and Captain Kirk is using it in addition to the laser beacon. It's actually setting out beside him as he's trying to repair the view screen. So, and there's one other episode that's escaping me right now, but that's really, there's only like the 4 episodes that you get a good glimpse of it. Oh, Galileo 7, of course, Galileo 7. It's up on the fin of the Galileo while Spock is standing outside. And then, I'm trying to think, I told you Galileo 7, actually that's Metamorphosis. So it's on the fin of Metamorphosis. And so when he's over there trying to get the thing ready to take off, you'll see all these different, it's like they threw all of Scotty's toolkits up there.
Yeah. And, it's funny you mentioned the Galileo 7 because I'm thinking of the scene where he's, on the floor and he's trying to get the fuel. He's trying to bypass the fuel tank. I was thinking, that would have been an appropriate time for it to be. Another episode that immediately comes to mind is.
You're right, Roy. He is in Galileo 7. That's why I was changing. It wasn't on the fin. It was on the fin in Metamorphosis, but it's on the floor in Galileo 7, exactly where you said it is.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, and again, I'm embarrassed because here I always say huge fan, and I had never caught that. So I'm actually excited to go back after this broadcast, and I'm going to pop in one of the episodes, and I'm actually going to look for it because I'm going to be like, oh my god, how the heck did I miss this? Because I totally missed it.
And with modern technology, and you're going to see that Scotty used a lot of regular old style screwdrivers with the metallic silver or metallic colors of the 70s or
that which survives. That was another episode that immediately where he's when he's trying to get the engines to shut down, and he's in the Jeffries. Well, it's not the Jeffries tube. It's like the that he's in the area where he said it feels like he's got ants crawling all over his body.
Yeah, he's going to try to disrupt the flow. Yes.
So I was thinking maybe that would have been an appropriate place for that kit to be used. But to your point, it's almost like a screwdriver or a wrench that he's using, and then he switches the polarity and he just takes off that one piece of plastic and he reapplies it, and it's supposed to switch everything. And it's just an amazing way.
Some of those things were machined, and in fact, one time he uses one of McCoy's medical instruments is laying there. So they did that, and you'll see some of Scotty's tools in Omega Glory on the table too. But like I say, they did use. I don't remember which episode, but in one episode they have this large pipe wrench in the engine room. What's that for? I don't know. They still needed to fix the plumbing, I suppose. But,
yeah. Warren just commented. He said, what about McCoy's spray bottle seen in sickbay? Yeah, no, that's true, Warren. And then the other thing is, how about Balance of Terror when Spock is working on the phasers and he's right at, he's at the bottom panel, and then there are these like little blocks with letters that are on the floor. I mean, there's that example of that, and we don't know what the purpose of those were, but they're there.
Yeah, and fans have kind of come up with them over the year. I actually have some of those. Fellow prop maker Ed Miraki has used to make those real well, and he would put a magnet in them so you could stick them on your refrigerator or something if you wanted to. But they were originally just little wooden blocks that had been cut with some numbers on them and doodads.
Yeah, but it became an interesting prop. Don't know what the functionality was for it, but it was interesting to say.
Whatever you want, right?
Exactly.
Great thing about science fiction.
It could be whatever you want. Very cool photo of Alex that I just had up too. So
yeah, and that's a recent photo that was just taken this past October. So
very cool. And then
there's people. There's Rick Sternbach and friend. That was when we made him an honorary missile launch officer.
Very cool.
And then Nick Meyer. Yeah, he was a character. He was character. He came down and he was less appreciative of some of the Star Trek cast members than we might be.
Safe to leave it at that then, right?
Yeah, I think we'll just cut it off and say he felt that some of them were difficult to work with.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. And here's a nice group shot. And I don't know, was this from this was a few years
No,
back.
this was from a few years ago. Let's see, I see Bill in there. It's kind of small, and I haven't looked at it in years, so I'm not sure all who's in there. Rick Sternbach's in there, isn't he?
Yes, I believe. Yeah, that's him there, right? And far left. Yep,
that's him.
And then there's you with Alex. Yeah, and Alex looks much younger there.
Yes, so that's probably about 5 or 6 years old. I suspect that was probably about the time of the New Voyages thing that we were at, because Alex was working the booth also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's so cool that he's been a part of that since he was a child, an infant.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And now now for the past 3 years, he's actually worked as a member of the convention staff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this year he'll be back in the model room, which is where he likes to be. But he'll be doing errands and so forth. And he really, like I say, it's turned into a family thing. Here we are.
Yeah.
And last year, one of our friends just retired from it. He had been doing it since show number 1, Dave Conover. But, after when a convention ends, and this yourself, you almost have to start planning on it right away.
Absolutely.
A week off.
And you kind of go through, what do they call it? Post-con depression, post-con remorse. Because, you have the big lead up to the event happening, and then it hits and it's great. Everybody's together. And then what happens is then it's as quickly as you're together, it's like, it's almost, I'll use the analogy from Star Trek Generations when they find the rift and the Nexus. It's like, you're having a great time, and it's like what happened to Soren. He's just like pulled away, and it's like you're looking forward to the next time, and that's yeah. So to your point, absolutely.
Right, because that thing called life interferes in between all of this for most of us.
Yep.
And that's like in Alex's case, you've got a year to work on models, and it all comes down to a week before the thing and him slamming something together or what have you, because stuff to do, whether it's getting ready for college or getting a job or what have you, fill in the blank.
No, you summed it up. It is life. In regards to the photo, Warren is asking who is wearing the Alpha Moonbase shirt. I know it's a small photo.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at it. Is there any way for us to blow that up?
Yeah, let me try something real quick and
then I can tell you. Notice me squinting. I don't use bifocals. We're used to.
Yeah, I get that. Let me do this. I'm going to make this super big and as big as I can do this. And I think maybe through the, let's say, percent. It's a little bit bigger. There you go. It's this guy right here.
All right.
It's as big as I can get it.
Yeah, let's see. Where's the logo at? Which guy is it?
It's the guy right here. I don't know if you can see my pointer. You can't see my pointer.
No, I can't see it.
Yeah, there's the guy with all the shirt.
Yeah. I see. He's got all the buttons and stuff on. I forgot that young guy's name. He's relatively new. He started working for it. He's like the overall coordinator for Wonderfest, helping make sure the guests get picked up and everybody gets what they need. Hey, do you have your brie and wine in your room? That type of stuff.
Gotcha. There you go. It's a little bit bigger. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah. I'm seeing a few. Yeah, I'm seeing. Oh, Frank Dietz is in the background. I see Frank Dietz. I see Bill Stout, Dave Hodge. There's Alex and I. The older gentleman with the white hair and beard is important, and I hate to say I can't remember his name. But let's see. I think that might be John. I think it might be John Always, who was one of the creators of Bruce the Shark and second unit director for Jaws, down there in the front by the lady in the pink shirt.
Yep. Oh, right here. Yep. That's here. Yep. Gotcha.
Yep. So, wow, man, time's flying. So yeah, yeah, and I tried. Alex wanted to be in the picture. I tried to be in the back because they don't need to see my mug. But again, where can you go? What kind of convention can you go to and kind of find out you're hanging with people? You just started a conversation. One of the things that always inspired me was Bill Stout. When I started looking at his blog spot, he talked about Wonderfest, and he'd say, "Oh, and a chance to see my friend Shawn." After this was like after 3 years or something. So you tend to, like I say, you tend to find out that you do make an impression. And this is a convention that I've never felt rushed at. And it's not one where you will see an armed security guard taking a person from point A to point B. Like I said, that picture of Nick Meyer illustrates that. Dude's walking around in his pajamas, and nobody's bothering him.
Right.
Yeah.
If
somebody did, chances are that that would end very quickly. So it is a chance to see people coming back and forth, and you don't feel this pressure to be rushed. And the events are spaced out. Like, let's say Bill gives a talk on the Return of the Living Dead. That's going to, that might be an hour presentation. And then there's nothing immediately scheduled after that. So crowd members are, going to have another hour before another event is scheduled.
So there's a buffer of time where it's not just like one event ends and it jumps right into the next event. So you might have, at least a half an hour maybe of downtime where you can go from one place to another.
Absolutely. And as with most conventions, many people stay in the hotel. Now, for my part, since we live in town, I've only stayed there once when we were doing the New Voyages thing. In fact, who was I hanging out? I forgot who. Somebody. It might have been Brandon. Stacy was there, and I think we were close, like in the adjoining rooms. But again, the long story short is that you've got you have a certain amount of people. The hotel, like I said, I think the most that I've ever heard of attending this is somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000. That's people, and that's over the course of the entire convention.
Wow.
And that would be, people driving in. We get a lot of West Coast people, but we've had people from Australia, Japan, Europe. They are there. They come, and again, that model contest is a big deal. It is a really big deal. Last year, as an example, Alex entered, and for the first time since attending this convention, he did not win Best Starship. So naturally, the young man, feeling somewhat entitled, goes up and says, "Oh, yeah, I noticed I didn't win this year. What was the difference?" And they said, "Alex, you won the darn thing, 18 years straight, pretty much. Don't worry about it." It's like, "Oh, okay, I get it now. Time to share the wealth." And I think that's a good point. And I want to give credit to Alex. Here I am making props, and I have won some awards for props in Wonderfest. But if I build a regular model, I think the most I've ever got is a merit award. This kid, we've got an entire cabinet of his awards for model building. It's like wow.
That's pretty cool. Sue wanted to comment too, and she said, "Roy, please tell Shawn how much I admire Alex's recreation of Scotty and his toolkit. Very accurate."
Oh yeah, I'll let him know. He's going to do another picture for me tonight, because there is a second part of that presentation, which I'm going to do a next generation medical injector hypo spray to you and me, and the stylus that they have. So he's going to put on a Deep Space Nine uniform, and we're going to take hopefully what's going to be a humorous photo. And so he'll get another chance to, because I'm going to use slides as well as visual aids at this presentation. But when the folks leave it, they should be able to create it, because like that what I can tell you about that toolkit is you're looking at the basic item, some primer, 2 colors of paint, and then if you want to get detailed, 2 more bottles of enamel paint, and you've got your prop.
Wow.
I mean, how easy can it be? And
so Shawn, this is what you're going to be covering about when you're doing your presentation at Wonderfest. Do you know what day and time that'll be for the folks out there that are going to be attending?
Yeah, I'll be doing that on Sunday from 1 to 2 p.m.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
that's interesting because your presentation
upstairs.
is 1 to 2, and then interesting enough, the presentation I believe that Jeffrey is going to be doing with Nick Tate is going to be from 2 to 3. So
Yes.
you guys are going to be like side by side.
I suspect he's going to be in the room beside me because it's a big room and they kind of cut it off. And I'll have to get the people. Now, I guess it was last year I gave a presentation on just the various everyday items used in all the Star Trek series as props. And it was so positive that we were there a half hour over our time period.
Mm.
So, and Nick Meyer was giving his speech next door, and people, I'm like, well, people, don't you want to go see Nick Meyer? And they're like, no, let's do this. Okay. Yeah, I'm easy.
Well, I have to wind down, but I want to thank you for coming on to the show. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to, again, we've been talking about it for months and months, and we're definitely going to, I'll definitely have you back on, and we're going to be exploring Project UFO is one of the shows from 1977 to 78 or 79. I believe it was on for 2 seasons. We'll be talking about that and some other stuff. So definitely looking forward to having you back on. And, with Wonderfest coming up this coming weekend, have a blast. I know it's going to be amazing. And we're
going to miss you. Sorry you can't be there.
No, thank you so much. And my best to Alex too.
Will do.
So great to have you on, Shawn. I'm just going to go to the shout outs portion of the show. You're welcome to stay on, or, you can, I know you probably got things you got to work on. So I'll just,
I have to go supervise because I'm seeing this, the hand waving like I have a question. So I will bail out. Thank you again for having me. Great talking to everybody, and to all of our friends out there. Thanks for listening.
No, thanks, Shawn. Take care. Thanks, folks. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the shout out portion of the show, and then I will be right back with just to wrap things up. And in regards to the shout outs, as I am sharing my screen, bear with me one moment. This is the portion of the show where we like to bring your try that one more time. The shout out portion of the show is bringing you creative awareness through our shout outs. So with that said, I want to give a shout out to Mike and Mary Beth. They are on Wednesday nights, Sci-Fi Distilled, and they discuss science fiction of the 80s, 90s, and beyond. They are working on their next show, so stay tuned. You can find out on their Facebook page. Again, it's Sci-Fi Distilled. The next show will be Wednesday, June 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And again, that's Mike and Mary Beth for Sci-Fi Distilled. I'd like to give a shout out to the Country Gate Playhouse, which is in Belvedere, New Jersey. As folks know out there, Country Gate is very special to my heart. And Country Gate is back. This is the 2023 season, and they are doing their second production, and it will be Snoopy. And Snoopy is going to be the week of July 29th through August 6th. For exact dates and times, you can go to their website, which is www.countrygate.org, or you can go to their Facebook page and check it out. And also, Bill Scarrato, the owner of the theater, my friend, he has a webpage, which is www.billscarrato.com. So you can check out their information there. I also want to give out a shout out to Captain Phil's Planet. Captain Phil is on WSB 90.1 FM, Stony Brook, New York. And the captain's schedule is on alternating Thursdays from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. He is also on Friday nights, which is 9 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The captain had to postpone his show on Friday. Mrs. Captain Phil was kind of under the weather. She is doing better, and Phil has postponed, which is going to be a very fun and interesting topic of discussion, and it is going to be the discussion of Picard Season 3. And again, that will be tentatively, and I believe it's going to be scheduled for next Friday at 9 p.m. He's going to have Mike and Mary Beth from Sci-Fi Distilled on as guests. Also, Colleen Bemant is also going to be joining, as well as Paul Stevenson as well. He's going to be on there too, science fiction author. And I was actually invited, but I am not going to be able to probably make it, but we'll stay tuned on that. And again, tune into Captain Phil's Planet. Also want to give a shout out to the owners of Studio One Thrift. That is Snow and Martha. They showcase their lineup for all things, for all seasons, all year long. You can go to their website, which is www.studioonethrift.net. They are working on a physical presence as far as in the Lehigh Valley. So stay tuned. You can go to their website for additional information. Also, when you subscribe to their website, be sure to subscribe to their web page, and you will be given updates about merchandise that is available, which can be purchased online. And also, I have to give a shout out to my friend and co-host, Mr. Ross Amico. Ross has actually shifted gears, and he has information posted on his shows on his Facebook page, which is Classic Ross Amico. Visit his webpage, visit his Facebook page for that information and his upcoming shows and schedules. And lastly, Ross and I will not be back this Friday, June 9th, because it is it's Sherry's and my wedding anniversary. So we're going on 11 years, which we're very excited about. And Ross and I will be back on the 16th of June, which is a Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. It's actually going to be 7:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We're not sure what we're going to be discussing, but we'll be posting it shortly. So stay tuned for information regarding that. And again, it will be at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on June 16th, which is also Father's Day weekend. So I'd like to thank everybody that tuned in tonight. It was wonderful having Todd and Gordon on from Space 1999 Props and Ships. And this was their first time on the show. Also amazing having Mr. Jeffrey Morris on the show to talk about his documentary. And then also, of course, to talk about Wonderfest and their presence at Wonderfest that will be taking place this coming weekend. Unfortunately, as I was saying earlier, I am not going to be able to attend. Very much disappointed about it, but I will get to Wonderfest one of these times. And again, if you missed earlier, Wonderfest website is www.wonderfest.com. It is June 10th, Saturday, and June 11th, Sunday. It is going to be an amazing event. I also want to thank Shawn Tabor for joining the show. As I was saying, Shawn was saying he has been a presence at Wonderfest going back to 1996 and has a lot of fun and strong memories of it. And it was great to hear the stories that he got to tell about his perspective of Wonderfest. And again, it should be a very interesting time in regards to not only the modeling community, but also in regards to Space 1999, especially with the film crew that will be there and the focus being on the events of taking place, and also having Mr. Nick Tate, Captain Alan Carter there as well. So lots to look forward to, folks. And we have a lot of things that are planned coming up in the month of June. I'm not going to announce everything quite yet, but stay tuned, and we are broadcasting on Facebook as well as YouTube, and we are also on Twitter. I would ask, in regards to Facebook and YouTube, if you have not already, please subscribe. There is no cost associated with it. If you do enjoy the show, please make sure to share it and just let other folks know about it. And we're planning on continuing to go strong, and the fan response has been very positive, and I'm just very happy to be able to connect with a lot of wonderful people out there. We were talking about Calgary earlier too in regards to everything, and the Space 1999 convention that took place there. Got to meet a lot of new people and fun people, and I'm again very sorry that I'm not going to be able to make it to Wonderfest. So anyway, next year, hopefully, fingers crossed. So for now, thank you for watching, and thank you for tuning in. If you're tuning in later on the recorded broadcast, it is much appreciated. As I always like to say to everybody, live long and prosper. Have a safe week and enjoy. Take care. Bye-bye.